Hey guys, Casey Santana here with Chifa Entertainment. We have another episode to jump in today. I'm super excited to share his story and what he's doing in the industry. And I mean, in and out of the cannabis industry. We're all about breaking the stigma here and normalizing the plant and the benefits that it brings to many people's lives. So before we jump into that, there's a couple announcements that I wanted to go through. Today, we have a very important message that we want to make sure that everybody's aware of. We are big supporters of veterans in the community and those who are fighting against opioids and suicide epidemics. And so today I wanted to make sure that you guys were aware that we are supporting the Battle Brothers Foundation. They are a nonprofit. All the proceeds are sent out for R&D for plant medicine, specifically cannabis, to help veterans have access to safe cannabis. And so on March 23rd of this year in San Diego, we'll be at the University Club. We're still looking for sponsors and attendees, so I'll make sure that's all in our link below. And other than that, make sure that you guys check it out and support it in any way that you can. All right. Other than that, we got some juicy stuff for you. We have a special guest to share with you guys. We have the man himself, Scott Rusczyk, and I'll let him fix the last name if it's not correct, but he's the president of Coachella Valley Cannabis Alliance Network and also the territory manager that we all know down here in SoCal for the Caputo group. So welcome. Thank you for spending some time with me today. I know it's been a while. We've done this before, to be completely honest with everybody watching. I just got to thank all the audience that come in, support us in the space that lets us do this. So thank you for giving me another shot and coming back on with me.
Casey, it's great to see you and it's great to be here. I love what you're doing.
Thank you. You've always been super genuine about your support, so it was easy to reach back to you. And you've been just so active in the community as always. And I think you've got some exciting things to share with us. Some things moved around to where you're leading some big things in the Coachella Valley area. You guys are doing a lot of different things, from events to you're even going to different states. I just saw your Instagram. You were out in, was that Arizona? I'll let you dive into that. But yeah, how's your Saturday?
I'm blessed, right? Here in the high desert, I'm actually coming to you from Yucca Valley, right next to Joshua Tree, and so the weather's lovely, and just recuperating from visiting with the folks down at Meta, Arizona, who had a wonderful event at a new space called Warehouse 215 just last week. And Meta, Arizona is a really interesting group. It's a networking group that brings cannabis professionals together, in an industry type setting to spend time talking about, what's going on in the Arizona community. And so just down there this week, and it was my first chance to meet with David Fowler, who is one of the founders of Meta Arizona, and just great folks. There are just so many great associations in states that have legalized, in states that are on the cusp of legalizing. And I'm so glad you mentioned CVCAN, the Coachella Valley Cannabis Alliance Network, which I happen to be the president of as of this July, which is very exciting. Wonderful organization. It's member-based. It is our tent poles are education, advocacy, and networking. And what we do is we hope to be a reasonable and productive voice for the cannabis community in the Coachella Valley, in Southern California, and in the state of California. That's sort of the quick, my Saturday.
Yeah, for sure. We'll dive into all the things that you guys are doing. We'll put in the description, just, a brief brand's story and, where to find the website and where to get, participate in any of the events you guys got going on. But just in general, for me, me, I'm into wellness all the way around. Plant medicine has always been part of my life. So before we jump into kind of the Caputo group and what the Alliance Network is doing in Coachella Valley, we like to ask our guests about how plant medicine has played a role in your life. So, we could take it back to when you first got your hands on it and kind of what that experience was like. And then, we'll dive into kind of what led you to where you are today.
Yeah, I think really good question. I mean, I've been a flower child, as it were, smoking flower for decades. I started back when I was a teenager, And, it's interesting to see, I grew up in New York where, and of course it was illegal everywhere, at my age, but I never thought I would live long enough to see, what we're seeing now, nationally, statewide. And it's a wonderful, wonderful, time. As I've grown older, now cannabis in all of its forms, and I refer to it the same way you do as plant medicine, is just such a large component of my life. Like I said, I still enjoy flower and concentrates, but as I've started to become more educated in connection with CBD and CBG and how to utilize plant medicine and the various components of it to, increase the well-being in my life. And, there's just simply, it's been a wonderful experience. And it's interesting, just talking about plant medicine very quickly, I never thought that I'd be a topical person. Right. And I had a knee injury. And I have to tell you, Casey, I was simply stunned by the effects of a THC CBD combination topical, just in giving me pain relief and improving the quality of my life. So cannabis is sort of, the one of the central components of my day-to-day existence. And frankly, I don't know where we'd be without it.
It's really interesting to see how the diversity is in the products in our space, and just being able to get access to all the different topicals, the gummies, the tinctures, to that point. As far as topicals, not really, because we're OGs and we've been, smoking cannabis for a really long time. I think a lot of us have kind of we don't use it enough or give it enough of a chance, just because that wasn't our thing. But now that they're like really refining the extractions of these products, it's really cool to see the work between the two. And I wanted to show Polar Gold Extracts. I'm part of their R&D board, and they're doing some amazing things with the cryo CBD. And yeah, so that's like their approach, which is a little bit different, which was interesting to me. And we connected simply for this fact that he caught like the fitness content that I was creating more. And a lot of the people that have, like, maybe they played baseball back in the university, at a university or college, I should say, they're really tapping into the topicals and really making some good product. Because my husband he has like a slight fracture or like a tear in his Achilles. And he's been using this, and he's like, wow, for like 2 hours, he's pretty happy, like, with the sensation that he gets. And I'm like, no fucking way. So on leg day, Polar Gold Extracts, shout out to you guys. We'll have to put the link below where to find them, but they're doing some cool things. And it's different for everybody. Like I said, it's to like bodybuilding and nutrition and macros. It's what works for you. Find out what works for you and change it up. It doesn't hurt to note things down and keep the progress going. Do you do any of that?
Yeah, I do. Well, I've started to, because, and I'm really glad you touched on it, because, it's even someone, who's been in and around cannabis for over 40 plus years. There's such a plethora of products now coming out within specific categories. So for topicals, for instance, there are dozens, if not multiple dozens of them, that have come out. And so I use a trial and error method. I rely on bud tenders that, I've come to know and trust. I do some reading, but also, it's funny, we're talking about wellness, because, I think that, for people like us who are comfortable going into dispensaries and comfortable talking with bud tenders about different maladies and different sorts of things, there's a whole world of people out there in the United States that I call sort of the Canna Curious, right, who have health issues of various kinds, but have never, smoked flower, have never gone into a dispensary, and frankly are concerned about walking into a dispensary for whatever reason, or the bullshit, that's been put out by the government for, God knows, going on 70 years now, or whatever the case may be. And so one of the things that we're doing to address that at CVCAN is we're having an open to the public day on February 21st in Desert Hot Springs, California, where a few holistic holistic nurses, one of whom, Elizabeth Mack, is a board member. They're going to be presenting a seminar, as I mentioned, open to the public, on how to use CBD and THC safely and to help address maladies and various illnesses, whatever the case may be. Staying away from big pharma, staying away from opioids, and so education and going to these sorts of events and is a great way to pick up information as well, because it can be somewhat overwhelming.
Yeah, for sure. No, I love that you guys are doing that work. To touch on that, you did kind of let me know the focus for you guys since you became the president in July of 2023. You've really taken a hold of the focus, around education, advocacy, networking. This event that you're talking about, I'm really excited. I already RSVP'd. I'm excited that it's around wellness. To be completely honest, I was in the fitness industry, and so to see the two really bridge itself, it's important. That I think it's leading people to the normalizing of the plant, but also reaching the Canna Curious. And I know that's a big touch for you guys as well. So are you seeing more of that from your end, being, you're running an alliance of a network on a higher scale, because I'm sure you're doing more legislative stuff and stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. The short answer is absolutely, right. And there's nothing that really warms my heart personally, right. Because like I said, growing up in the late 60s and early 70s, it was illegal and it was a drug and it was bad and all this crap. And so, the reality of now that more, studies are coming out and doctors are becoming more involved and scientists are all over the industry, right? I think the general public would be stunned to know how many scientists are in labs, cultivators, manufacturers, distributors. But to answer your question directly, yeah, there's nothing that warms my heart, more than someone who, was Canna Curious, right, that didn't have experience, has gotten an opportunity to, whether it's through edibles for sleep or a topical, as we discussed before, or has had some really positive therapeutic experience. And we love to sort of, get those people to share their story to the extent they're comfortable. I think, and as you refer to, because it's my mission as well, this normalization concept, removing the stigma. Even people who have had wonderful therapeutic experiences can sometimes be hesitant to come out, and speak about it. Perhaps they don't want, people outside their family to know, these kind of things. But, but more and more are. It's kind of like, in a weird way. I mean, I'm not sure if I should make this analogy, but 20 years ago, alien abduction people were all looked at as nuts, and they were fringe and they were crazy. But now, there are tens of thousands of them. They have conventions. They've come out. They talk. They share their stories without getting into the veracity of alien conspiracies. The simple reality of it is that's a very large group of people that's been able to come out, what I like to say is come under the tent. So the Canna Curious, the people who are having these, positive therapeutic experiences, we get them into the tent, share, talk about it more. So yeah, we're seeing it more and more, but we still have plenty of work to do.
Yeah, I think it's super dope. It was okay for you to touch on the UFOs. I think most of us can completely agree. It's my type of people, but we're not alone. We're not
Right,
alone.
right,
What a
yeah,
surprise.
exactly. Yeah, our
We'll have
hubris
to,
is, yeah,
yeah, I'm sure we'll have to do a live on that one day. But to
right
not
on.
go off subject, I think it's really cool what you're doing out there. I think you have more of a reach, and I love that you're a leader out there, being the president of the Alliance Group. You can really speak to them and spread your message, because you've been part of, like your rooted grassroots is still in there, but you're still able to bring in the Canna Curious, get those nurses up there. So, I think the niches, everybody's niche from their background is finally coming to the forefront of how to actually utilize it and how to integrate it into the cannabis community and elevate it all as, all together. I
Mhm.
think, since we're on that point, I'd like to kind of talk about what Caputo Group's doing. I initially found out about Caputo Group. You've sponsored some events under that. You've gave me some amazing sponsor donations. And so I always appreciate, the companies out there that are supporting women who are really trying to bring the community together or just get extra eyes on the brands that are out there that have good culture and are genuine about their intentions in the space. So I don't know if you have anything new, because usually I see you exhibited or sponsored. So if you have any events you're sponsoring, plug them in. Let us know where you're going to be at.
Right on. Yeah. So the Caputo Group, I'm glad. Thank you for that. And actually, that's how we met. And I think the commonality that brought you and I together is our sense of community and how important community is. And community can be as sort of as small as your block, right? Or it could be the Southern California cannabis community, or it could be the cannabis community in general, or and all kinds of other communities. But we both feel have the desire to make the communities that we touch better. And one of the reasons I joined with the Caputo Group was I'm built for service. The purpose of my existence on this planet, right, is to serve, and so I do that through CVCAN and the things that we touched on, and then my day job, the Caputo Group, which is a human resource outsourcing firm. And we work in all industries, but I happen to specialize with my partner, Kevin Anderson, in the cannabis space. And really, Casey, what that's all about is we help cannabis companies, and it doesn't matter, from seed to sale, sort of thing, but with their administrative challenges in the areas of human resources, workers' compensation, payroll solutions, which is particularly tricky in cannabis, as benefits. And the idea is to help small and medium businesses in the cannabis space by leveling the playing field, taking out the administrative responsibilities so that they can be free to focus on revenue generating activities within the business. And how thin the margins are, and because of the 280E exception, the margins in cannabis, everybody, the outsider world thinks, oh, it's a gold mine and you make money like there's no tomorrow. Lie. Okay. The reality. Yeah, the reality of it is that it is a sophisticated business that is treated differently than any other type of business by not only the federal government, the state governments, the local governments, the taxing authorities, blah, 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 blah. And so what we try and do is come in and say, hey, let us help you stay compliant with human resources. Let us take your payroll issues off your table so that you have that extra administrative time to focus on really, like I said, creating revenue, building margin, and also mitigating risk. Don't carry the water, let us carry the water. And so myself and my partner, Kevin Anderson, we speak a lot at events. We spoke just recently at the Lucky Leaf exhibit expo down in Albuquerque late last year, the benefits of outsourcing, kind of thing, and helping people understand. And it's not only in the areas that I talked about or for the Caputo Group, but it's outsourcing in general. Outsourcing is not what it was in 1990. There's a whole new world out there, and you can increase margins and make your operation more efficiently by outsourcing. So what we do is we go around. We'll be speaking. I believe it's the Imperious expo event in February down in Arizona. So we're looking forward to doing that. And we try and go to as many sort of cannabis focused expos as we can and share the word about, there's another way, you got enough challenges. Let us help you carry the water. And so that's kind of, in a nutshell, what the Caputo Group is all about. Once again, it's all about service, helping others.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's important. I come with banking, and I say that all the time to remind people that that's primarily my resume is 20 years of banking. So, and to be completely honest, BSA and compliance. So Bank Secrecy Act, for those who don't know what BSA is. So I completely resonate with everything you said. Safe Banking Act is just not there yet. However, I will say with them looking at descheduling or rescheduling, that may be why they're at that pivot point as to where they don't know where to go. So will that be a whole different subject? But I am curious to know, with everything that you guys are doing, do you guys have insight or a perspective on where, there's always a question, deschedule or reschedule? Do you think there's a difference, and do you think there'll be an impact whichever way it leans?
Yeah, I actually do, and it's a complicated question, because there are some of us who, generally speaking, want the federal government, to act. So any act, taking a step down the right direction, is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
To me, I think the rescheduling to Schedule 3 is, a lot of shock and awe, and frankly, is not meaningful. I mean, yes, you'll get the 280E exception out, which is super important. And for those who don't know, the 280E exception
Yeah.
basically says that you, as a cannabis a business, cannot deduct normal business expenses that every other business in America can deduct. So there's rescheduling would allow those deductions, but to me, it's a half measure. The cat is out of the bag. Pick your metaphor. The statistics are in. We're not talking about weed. We're not talking about smoking dope, right? We're talking about plant medicine. The studies are there. The schedules are about substances that provide no medical benefit. It's clear, and it's been clear for 2,000 plus years, but whatever, that there is a benefit. So to me, where I come out is, take it off the schedule. It's time. And frankly, it's also time to get rid of MDMA and a number of other things on Schedule 1 that do have therapeutic benefit. And it's really time. But I'm one person. That's just my opinion.
Right, right. No, but you're a leader out in a good community. And, that's why it's important that we do things like this. And we have these conversations to take, to the mainstream and get people to hear from our perspective, our knowledge, our experience, where we're coming from, really emphasize on the plant medicine of it. And I think that's really where the stance is. But for me, I'm excited to see things change for the better, always for the better. But I do truly believe, this is just to me, is that when they figure out where they have the upper hand is maybe when when the needle will move. But you're right. I was talking to LA Normal, very, big in supporting and what Normal does for cannabis.
Great people.
And yeah, they kind of feel the same way with that. Is he just take the wins, the little wins that we can get,
Yeah.
and let's maybe pivot from there. So keeping our fingers crossed that we don't go on the bottom end of those things, but that's a whole different subject.
Right. I mean, what I was taught, just closing on that point, what I was taught is, policy is made by those who show up, right? Which we can see it time and time again. And what I've come to learn through acting, because CVCAN is very active on a political basis. I shouldn't, let me strike that. Not on a political basis, on a legislative basis, going before city councils to talk about decreases in taxation. You have to take the small wins, because this is a big sea change for folks who are not necessarily that familiar with the cannabis community. So patience and continuing to show up, and like you had alluded to, destigmatizing. We're not this big scary group of people. Let us show you data. Let's talk to the doctors. Let's talk to the scientists. Let's move in a direction. But patience is helpful.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned the scientists, because there are a lot of people who are in the biotech world. I had the pleasure of having somebody here from Encore Therapeutics, where they're focused on pediatric cancer and just pediatric in general. And that's great to see. So I love that. Thank you for sharing all that information. I didn't know the parameters around 280E. So, that's that's just unfortunate. I mean, I've never really dived into taxes here and how they're breaking down, but I know for a fact that they are, just because they're in the cannabis industry, they're taxed more on top of being taxed more. So I didn't even know deductibles are also just a no-go. So I can't imagine, being a business owner, maybe I come from a legacy root background, and having to start, maybe I'm wanting to brand myself and get into retail. I would not be able to imagine how much that would be on my shoulders to try to figure out operations and making sure that I'm in compliance. So having Caputo Group, I think it's important. If you're at that level and stage, I think this is why I bring people on like yourself. You're trustworthy. I know you personally. If I know somebody that's looking for services like that, or is at a place where they're ready to move forward, we'll make sure that we send them to Caputo Group, and we'll make sure all the link is below. But I think it's important people have a direct contact, a face behind the brands and services of our industry, because trust is huge. And I think trust on both ends, whether you're legacy or corporate, is huge for any business. So
absolutely. Well, no, and I appreciate that so much. And I work in a relationship-based environment, right? I'm not a transactional person. I want to get to know you. Can I be helpful? And if not, right on, kind of thing. That's cool. But if I can, let me help. We have lots of experience, and whether it's the Caputo Group, whether it's CVCAN, there's a lot of people who will put time and energy into helping you understand whether it's a personal issue, a health issue, a business issue. Hey, I want to open a dispensary. I'm not sure, these kind of things, because, and I'll close on this. What most people don't realize is that, at least here in Southern California, the tax rate on cannabis products is somewhere between 30 and 36% out the door. Nothing in the United States is taxed that way. And so that's going to have an impact on consumers. And so if you're going to be in the business, or you're in the business, that one has to be mindful, that is a really, really high tax. I mean, I think the state sales tax is 8.75% just on eggs, kind of thing. We'll tack another 22% on that. So as a business owner, there are a lot of things to consider, as you start to try and navigate that and create successful business, because that's what we want. Speaking for myself, and I know you do as well, with all the companies that you work with and all the people that you support, we want them to do well. But what's very clear, even if we're in direct competition, I use the term Canna strong. We're stronger together, okay, than we are at each other's throats. And so that's just kind of how I carry myself.
Yeah. No, I felt it, the moment I met you, and it's been almost, I want to say almost 2 years
Yeah,
that we've
yeah.
just grown together in a community. Time fucking flies. But yeah, it's all about relationship. I know that we've done several of these, and I don't know how many I've done. But I think it's important that people take the time to give people 5-15 minutes to just, who are you? What are you doing? What are you up to? How can we help each other? How can we collaborate? And like you said, stronger together. I'm a huge believer in that. Well, I really appreciate you sharing all that information. I know our audience will have value in our video, and recording today is a honor to have you on as the president of CVCAN. I'll make sure that all the links are here. And if you don't mind, again, just letting us know what you have going on for the event coming on February. And then before you go, we'll have to do rapid fire.
So first of all, to you, I want to say what you're doing, Casey, with this podcast and what you do, in your ancillary endeavors is awesome. You bring people together. You're spreading the word. You're just affable and knowledgeable and accessible. And so I'm a big fan, and just love what you're doing, and anything that we can do, whether it's CVCAN or Caputo Group, to help support you and Chief Entertainment, and all of the other organizations, please let us know. We're here for you. With respect to me, so you can find me at I'm pretty easy. Scott Rusczyk on LinkedIn, Scott Rusczyk on Instagram. The company is the Caputo Group, caputo-group.com. CVCAN, wonderful organization. We are based in Coachella Valley. We're always looking for new members. You can find us at CoachellaValleyCan.org, and also on Instagram and LinkedIn under CVCAN. So please come find out, see what's going on, become part of. With respect to the February 21st event, so that'll be a CBD and THC wellness with plant medicine seminar that's open to the public. We do ask for a $10 suggested donation. That will be on February 21st from I believe it's 5 to 8 in Desert Hot Springs. The event information can be found at certainly the Instagram and LinkedIn sites I mentioned, and also at CoachellaValleyCan.org. Come on out if you're in the area. Come listen and learn, hopefully, and how to use products safely, and so that you can hopefully benefit, have a higher quality of life. And we're always before the city councils fighting for reduced taxes, so you can certainly find me there.
Nice. Nice. I always say one day I will get to that point. I feel like I'm ready to start using my voice at that level. It's a different ball game. I think it's a different beast.
You'd be good.
Um,
You'd be good.
yeah, maybe we'll start training. I would say we'll start training. All
Anytime.
right. I appreciate that. We will make sure that all of Scott's plugs are in our description. You got to go connect with him if you guys are looking ways to network with great people. Man. All right, Scott, I got a quick rapid fire, some fun questions for us to dive into around cannabis culture, all the fun OG stuff. So, all right, let's start with number one, grinders or fingers? Grinders or fingers, man?
Used to be fingers, now grinders. Love grinders.
Yeah, I used to be fingers till baby too. And I'm like, I don't have time for that shit. I got to just go, pack and go.
Grinder.
Dispensary or plug?
Dispensary.
Good
Dispensary.
answer. I always I would say that's a fair answer being the president of CVCAN. I have to remind all the OGs where they're at now. The OG's still in us, so great
Yeah,
answer.
exactly.
Floral or gasoline terps?
Floral. Absolutely.
Really? Oh,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah. It's
gasoline.
once again it's hugely subjective, but I've been floral.
True. Any preference on like have you had some living soil or greenhouse?
I've done a little bit, but not enough to speak intelligently. And so that's yet another area to learn about, right? And even for someone who's been
Yes.
smoking for
You gotta
45
try
plus
it.
years, fascinating. I know this
Yes.
much about it. I want to know this much.
Yes. No, I used to like preach all day about indoor because I'm from SoCal. I don't know anything else. I haven't been exposed
Right.
to anything else. So yeah, no, I totally agree. But yeah, if you have a chance to check out Royal Key Organics, they are indoor, but they do living soil. And No Till Kings, I believe, was one. They're Jack Herrera. Or no, it's a Jack Herrera strain, but it's
Mm,
called Jack the Ripper. I think it's crossed with something else. So
right
yeah,
on.
a little heavy, but you may like it. Bong tokes or joints?
Joy. I enjoy bongs. And I'm really digging this whole concentrate world, that's come up in the past,
Mm,
and what Puffco and all their progeny are doing. I love it, but I'm old school. I'm a joint guy. What comes right
yeah,
down to it.
yeah. Well, to the next question, it's papers or leaves. Do you do blunts?
I've gotten I'll be honest with you. At papers, I've gotten really. I love cones now, right? Because I'm an old school
I was gonna
roller,
ask.
kind of thing.
Yeah,
Now I buy the cones from whomever in like giant boxes, right?
yeah,
And I just hang out in front of TV and pack. So, but I've tried leaves. Leaves are awesome. I mean,
yeah.
totally awesome. Very cool. It's more of a convenience factor on the paper side.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I got a chance to try a banana leaf blunt once, and it's super cool. Me being
I've done that.
Filipino
Yeah,
and
they're
a
awesome.
Salvadorian.
Yeah.
I was like, banana leaf, very cool. It kind of broke down towards the end just because it's a banana leaf, you know what I mean? And I imagine they had to do like several wraps to do that. But that's the I used to love blunts, but I'm trying to be, I don't drink alcohol anymore. It's been almost a solid year.
Oh,
And yeah, I'm proud of that. I don't talk about it often, but I should. It's just
you
something I
should have. Do
decided
it.
I wasn't a heavy drinker anyways, but when I did, I just didn't like the feeling. And I'm like, why am I doing this to my body? And I was like, maybe it's because I'm just getting older. And I'm like, no, why am I doing this to my body? Let's just not. So for me, it was an easy kick for the most part. But
Right.
obviously when social settings, it's alcohol is still there as, a little
Right.
wine here and there. But I've been pretty happy and okay with it for
Good
the
for
most
you.
part.
Good for
Yeah.
you. I have to tell you, I also was not a heavy drinker. I still will have the odd, social cocktail, but I will tell you,
Yeah.
Casey, I haven't had a hangover in 20 plus years. I'm a cannabis guy, right? I mean, alcohol to me is, and once again, to each his own, right on.
Right.
It's poison.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
not interested. I don't
Yeah.
want it in my body. I don't like how it
Exactly.
affects me. And so more power to you. Right on.
Yeah. I rather do poison through like ayahuasca if that's the case.
Boom. That's my girl. Right on.
Right? I mean, at least like there's a benefit to that. I don't know what world I'll see. We'll get there. We'll get there. I swear it's gonna be like my 50th for my 50th. That's my deal.
Well, when you're ready, and we can do a
I was
separate
gonna
one
say,
on
I
this.
know you're the man.
I,
I
you
know
know,
you're the man.
I was blessed to go down to the Colombian rainforest this time last year and work with this cat who's an indigenous shaman who grew up in the trade. And there's nothing like going to the source.
Oh,
If and for all the viewers or listeners, whatever out there, if you're going to look into that sort of plant medicine, go to the source. Be careful of just weirdos on the corner. Do your research and reach out to me. There's lots of places for sources. But anyway, I didn't want to derail this. The point is, it's a wonderful experience, and I
yes.
highly recommend it. So if you ever want to talk about it, let me know.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, no, and I'm glad you pointed that out, is to really go to the source, because there is a lot of that going on right now, and there's bad stuff going on. So yes, we're just saying this for fun, guys. Don't take our word for it. Go to the source. All right. To that point, live resin or rosin?
I'm ambivalent. I love both. Right. So I will be honest. I am not, my palate is not that refined. I know you do a lot of judging, the Emerald Cup and all that service you do. I could never do it because my palate's just not that refined. So I'm good either way. I'm totally right on. You got it. You got rosin? Awesome. You got live resin? Awesome.
Yes, I will. Yes, exactly. I too, I would be the same, but I am in experiencing so much of the different kinds. I am learning or finding that I personally, my preference is leaning towards the rosin. And I too am still trying to learn the difference between the, how one's made. And I think, for me, it's the solventless part, getting the higher flavor. But they do say resin, as far as like activity wise and how that works, may be different than rosin, because rosin will slap you in the like, may knock you on your ass. But yeah, still trying to figure out what's good. And for me, yeah, flavor is there's some amazing just craft out there that I'm not going to plug in any names, but there's some amazing craft out there, especially when they're using sun-grown flower or sun-grown cultivators, and then they're using that for their their final product. The flavor there is phenomenal. I'll like totally tell you which ones that I think are
Right on.
But I love that you said both. And last one, Cheech or Chung or Half Baked, and not on a comedian level and or cannabis culture level, more just movie. Like, what would be your movie if you had the two to pick from?
Half Baked is an awesome film, but I'm a Cheech and Chong guy. I grew up with those guys. I mean, I'm so happy for them because I don't know them personally. I've seen them at events and whatnot. And Cheech Marin, he's got this wonderful the Cheech in Riverside, the museum that's opened up, which is one of the best new museums in the United States of America. It is the only museum, and I don't mean to step on Mr. Marin's toes, that is Chicano based, and it's based on his collection and bringing the Chicano art form to the forefront. You can no longer have a conversation about art history in the United States without talking about Chicano art, and that's due to Cheech Marin. But leaving that little plug aside, and Cheech, you can find me at Scott Rusczyk. I grew up with those guys, and I love them, and I'm so happy that it's come full circle for them as well.
Yeah.
I think they're wonderful ambassadors in all the things they do, and as a young adult, those guys crack me, and today they crack me up, man. They're hilarious. I love them.
Yeah, they're definitely fun time. I still follow. I don't know if I see Cheech's account too much. It may be just lost in the feeds, but Tommy and his wife, they are. I was like, that's what I look forward to when I'm at that stage of my life, and it's just me and the hubs and no more kids. That's the shit. I'm living life. He's still like, hot babe, let's go. I love that energy between
He's
them.
awesome.
And I think cannabis keeps most of us really in high spirits. We're highly functional people. We're highly efficient. I'm going to change my podcast to that. So highly efficient, highly favored people. people. And so, yeah, that's all I got for you today. But I really do appreciate you sharing your time, your knowledge, your experience, the story that you have behind, everything that you've done in the cannabis and out of the cannabis. But just having you, in my network, it's a pleasure to have you on.
You're so kind. It's lovely to see you as always. And thank you so much for having me. Have a wonderful weekend. Be well.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, guys, that's Scott. I will make sure that all of his information is here. You can stalk him with all the links below, and make sure you guys check out the event that's going to be in Coachella Valley. Was it in Coachella Valley? What city is that?
Desert Hot Springs in the Coachella
Desert
Valley.
Hot
Desert Hot Springs, February 21st.
All right, guys, you heard it. Make sure the link's here. I'll make sure that you guys will be able to get that information. And if you guys have any questions, make sure you guys jump in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you on the next one. Peace.